Many are called, but few are chosen. Matthew 22:14. If you are here, watching this, I want you to know it's not by accident. For God's chosen, there are no coincidences. You were gently led here because, in the quietest part of your soul, you already know there's something different about you. You've always felt it, haven't you? That gentle but heavy weight of responsibility on your shoulders that others just don't seem to feel. You may not have had the words for it, but deep in your bones, you've always known you were meant for something more. And for that reason, this message isn't for everyone, and that's okay. This is a sacred conversation, dedicated to the few rare souls walking a divine mission on this earth. If these words don't resonate deep in your spirit, they will probably just sound like noise. But for you, for the chosen, these words will be like keys, finally turning in locks you always knew were there. Stay with me, because the secrets we are about to unlock together have the power to protect and forever shape your spiritual path. Your mission is too important, and the opposition is too real to walk this path unprepared. And that brings us to our foundational lesson, the profound importance of holy secrecy. This isn't about being dishonest. It's about discernment, the quiet wisdom of knowing who to trust. You see, not everyone can handle the light you carry. Some will mock what they do not understand, and some will sadly take the beautiful things you share and try to use them against you. Jesus himself gave us this powerful warning. He said, "Do not give what is holy to the dogs, nor cast your pearls before swine, lest they trample them under their feet and turn and tear you in pieces." Matthew 7:6. As a chosen one, the gifts God gives you are those precious pearls. And the painful truth is, not everyone knows how to handle something so sacred. So where do we begin protecting these pearls? We start with the one thing the world tries to take from you every single day: secret. 1. Guard your energy like a sacred flame. Have you ever noticed that some people are just drawn to you? It's because as a chosen one, you're different. You carry a light inside of you, a spiritual warmth that emanates from your very core. Others can't always explain it, but they can absolutely feel it. They sense a peace in you, a strength that is not of this world. And this light, it's a blessing, a beacon of hope, but it can also be a heavy burden. Think of your energy not just as fuel in your tank, but as a living well of fresh water in a dry land. It's what nourishes your spirit and empowers you for your divine mission. But here's the hard truth. Some people are drawn to your well not to drink and be refreshed, but to pollute its waters or drain it dry. They are drawn to your light not to be warmed by it, but to consume it. You know the ones I'm talking about, don't you? They are the chronic complainers who see only darkness in a world of color. They are the people who only show up with an endless list of problems, surrounding you with their negativity and drama, demanding you fix what they themselves are unwilling to change. And all the while, they are quietly pulling from your spirit, trying to siphon your light for themselves instead of seeking their own. They see your peace, and they want a piece of it, without doing the work to find it. That feeling you get, that sudden, profound exhaustion after being around them, that's not your imagination. That is a spiritual alarm bell. That is your spirit screaming that your precious energy is being stolen by someone who does not have your best interests at heart. But you don't have to let them. And that is a God-given promise. Now listen closely, because this is a truth that can set you free. You are not required to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. Yes, as a chosen one, you were called to serve, to love, and to be a light. But you were also called to be wise, as the scripture says, wise as serpents and innocent as doves. Matthew 10:16. Wisdom means knowing that not everyone who asks for your energy deserves it. Some are only there to take, to consume, and to leave you feeling empty and alone. This is why protecting your energy is one of the most vital secrets I can share with you. Without it, you will be too tired, too weak, and too broken to finish the mission you were born to complete. So, how do you protect that sacred flame? First, you must learn to recognize the drain. It is an act of self-awareness. Start by simply listening to the quiet wisdom of your own body. You know that heavy, sinking feeling you get in the pit of your stomach around a certain person? That is not a coincidence. It is a spiritual warning sign. The book of Proverbs reminds us, "Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it." Proverbs 4:23. Trust that inner knowing. If someone consistently makes you feel worse, smaller, or more anxious after you leave them, they are a danger to your spirit. It's not unkind to create distance. It is an act of spiritual survival. Second, give yourself the sacred permission to say no. Your heart is tender. It wants to help, to heal, and to guide. That is your beautiful, God-given nature. But you must remember that old, wise saying, "You cannot pour from an empty cup." Saying no isn't selfish. It is an act of profound wisdom and good stewardship of the life God gave you. It's how you build a boundary, a safe wall around your heart, so you can save your best energy for those who truly need it, and most importantly, for your own journey with God. And third, be selective about who you allow into your inner circle. Not everyone gets a front row seat to your life and your heart. Your closest companions should be a source of strength, not a constant drain. They should be people who replenish you, who speak life into you, who understand and respect the sacred path you walk. Look at the example of Jesus himself. He loved and taught the masses, but he didn't give his deepest energy to everyone. He had his inner circle of disciples. And even within that group, he had a trusted few he brought closer still. He showed us that being selective isn't about pride or exclusion. It's about protecting the mission. Be wise about who you let into that sacred space in your heart. Secret 2. Keep your vulnerabilities hidden. Next, we need to talk about something that isn't easy, because it requires great courage and wisdom. Your own heart. Because, as a chosen one, there are moments of tenderness and struggle where you must guard it fiercely. You see, even though you are guided by God, you are still living in a human body, walking on this broken earth. And that means you will have moments of profound weakness. You will feel the sting of doubt. You will know the cold grip of fear. You will be tired down to your very bones, a weariness that sleep cannot fix. And these tender spots in your soul, like unhealed wounds, they must not be exposed to everyone. Why? It's a crucial question. The answer is simple and stark. Because not every heart has compassion. Not every hand that reaches for you is a healing one. In the wrong presence, your honest struggles will be twisted. Your pain can be misunderstood at best, and at worst, used as a weapon against you. Haven't we all known the sting of a confidence betrayed? There are people in this world, hurt people, who feed on the vulnerability of others. It's a sad truth. They are drawn to your bright light, not to celebrate it or add to it, but to find where the cracks are, so they can pour in their own darkness and try to extinguish the flame He placed within you. But that is a victory they will never, ever have. So you must learn to be incredibly wise about who you trust with your struggles. The world is full of folks who will offer a comforting smile to your face and then sow seeds of gossip the moment you turn your back. Think about it. Have you ever shared a deep worry with someone, a secret fear that keeps you up at night, only to get a sinking feeling later that they might use that information? If they know where you're bruised, that's exactly where they will push, whether they mean to or not. Now, this doesn't mean you must hide your humanity and pretend to be made of stone. Not at all. That is a lonely and impossible way to live. We all need a trusted friend, a safe harbor, someone who can see us at our absolute worst and still cover us with the warm blanket of love and grace. But people like that, they are rare. They are one of God's greatest treasures in this life, found only through patient prayer and the test of time. The psalmist understood this well, declaring, "It is better to take refuge in the Lord than to trust in humans." Psalm 118:8. This is not cynicism. It is spiritual wisdom. So please do not give your heart away so easily. Do not treat your trust as something cheap. Look to Jesus for your ultimate example. In his darkest hour of human agony, sweating blood in the Garden of Gethsemane, he didn't share his soul-crushing anguish with the whole crowd, or even with all 12 disciples. He took only his 3 most trusted friends with him, Peter, James, and John. He showed us that our most sacred struggles, our deepest pains, are meant for a sacred few. So learn from this divine model. Share your burdens, yes, but only with those who have proven, over time, that they are worthy of that sacred trust. Remember, your heart is a holy place, a sanctuary where God desires to dwell. You have a divine mission to complete. Be wise, be prayerful, be patient about who you invite inside. Secret 3. Protect your spiritual insights. As a chosen one, God will give you wisdom. It will not be the wisdom of this world, but a wisdom that comes from above. He will reveal truths to you that others simply cannot see. These insights are not ordinary thoughts. They are sacred gifts, holy whispers to your spirit, meant to guide, protect, and prepare you for your mission. They are pieces of the divine puzzle he is revealing to you. And precisely because they are sacred, they are not meant to be shared casually with everyone, especially not with those who are walking in spiritual darkness or content in their skepticism. When you share these deep spiritual truths, some people will not understand. That is a guarantee. They might find your words confusing, strange, or even laughable. They might look at you as if you are naive or foolish. But listen to me, and let this sink deep into your soul. That is not a sign that you are wrong. It is a sign that they are not yet ready for what God has revealed to you. You are speaking a heavenly language to an ear that is only tuned to earthly things. Think about the prophets God sent throughout history. Did they shout every divine secret from the rooftops the moment they received it? No. They often spoke in parables, hiding deep truths in simple everyday stories, knowing only those with a heart to see would understand. They waited patiently for the right time, the right audience. They understood the awesome, beautiful heaviness of the words they carried. You must treat the revelations God gives you like a priceless, hidden treasure. Ask yourself this: if a king gave you a sealed letter with a secret meant only for you, would you open it in the middle of a busy marketplace for everyone to read over your shoulder? Of course not. That would be a betrayal of the king's trust. Your insights from God are the same. They are intimate communications. They are not meant for casual conversation or to prove a point in an argument online. Sharing these things carelessly is spiritually dangerous. Why? Because when your precious truth is met with ridicule, it can be dismissed, twisted, or even used to wound your own spirit. More than that, the world's cynicism can act like water, diluting the potent truth God gave you, causing even you to begin to doubt what you so clearly heard in the secret place. But that doesn't mean you must hide your light forever under a bushel. Of course not. The world desperately needs your light. There will be divine moments, sacred appointments, when the Holy Spirit nudges your heart to speak a word of truth to a specific person at a specific time. And in that moment, you will feel a peace and a confidence, and you will know the time is right. But until then, you must guard these treasures carefully. Have you ever shared something deeply personal and spiritual with someone, only to feel misunderstood, judged, or even foolish afterward? That hollow, empty feeling is what we are protecting you from. The world is not ready for everything you carry. And that is perfectly okay. Your mission is not to convince everyone. Your mission is simply to be faithful to the one who called you. And a vital part of that faithfulness is knowing when to speak and when to protect God's sacred secrets with a wise and reverent silence. Secret 4. Master the art of discretion. Now let's talk about a quiet but profoundly powerful skill called discretion. This goes far beyond just being silent. If silence is the shield you raise in a moment of conflict, discretion is the wisdom that builds the very fortress where your soul can dwell in safety. It's the sacred knowledge of what to share, with whom, and when. As a chosen one, parts of your journey, your divine plans, your private struggles, and your hard-won victories must remain protected within these walls. This isn't about living in fear or being pathologically secretive. It's about understanding a simple, powerful truth that the modern world has forgotten. Not everything is for everyone. We live in a world that is obsessed, almost addicted to oversharing. The highlight reel on social media, the constant broadcast of every thought and feeling, it creates an unspoken pressure to perform your life for a public audience. But for you, that path is a spiritual dead end. It is dangerous. Your journey with God is a sacred, intimate ground, and not everyone is meant to be invited to walk on it. Why is this so critically important? Why must you guard this privacy so fiercely? Because when you reveal too much, you are carelessly opening the gates of your fortress to attacks you were never meant to face. Sharing your every move, every inspiration, every plan invites the unseen but very real forces of jealousy from some, ill will from others, and sometimes even the clumsy harm of well-meaning people who simply cannot comprehend the weight of your calling. Think of your new spiritual growth like a tiny, delicate seedling just pushing through the soil. What does that seedling need? It needs the controlled, safe environment of a greenhouse. A place where it is protected from the harsh winds of criticism, the cold frost of doubt, and the scorching sun of public scrutiny. Your God-given mission is exactly the same. Until it is strong and its roots are deeply anchored in His truth, you must be ruthlessly careful about who gets to see it. And this doesn't mean you must live like a hermit, locked away from the world. Absolutely not. The time will come when your story will be a mighty testimony, a beacon of hope that inspires countless others with what God has done. But you must let those moments be led by His divine wisdom, not by an empty human need for attention or validation. This is especially true when it comes to your spiritual breakthroughs. As you grow closer to God, He will grant you moments of breathtaking clarity, revelations that feel like the heavens opening up just for you. These are precious gifts. Sharing them too soon with the wrong people, even people you love, can lead to confusion, mockery, or flat-out rejection, which can throw you off your path. Remember, the Bible warns us to be vigilant because your adversary, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. 1 Peter 5:8. And that enemy is an intelligence gatherer. He uses information. The less he knows about your plans, your weaknesses, and your progress, the safer your mission will be. This wisdom also applies to your most sacred relationships. You will meet others on this path, and some of those connections are holy alliances, divinely orchestrated for your growth and purpose. But not every one of these relationships needs a public spotlight. Some bonds are meant to be quiet, private covenants, protected from the noise and contamination of the outside world. This is especially true in romance. Your light is intensely attractive. Therefore, be wise and discerning as a gatekeeper of your own heart about who you allow into its deepest chambers. And this brings us to one of the most powerful strategies for a chosen one: the art of moving in silence. The world builds with a loud trumpet and a parade. You are called to build in a quiet sanctuary. Moving in silence means you build, you grow, you pray, and you work on the mission God has given you without needing to announce every single step to the world. When you move in silence, you starve the critics. You avoid unwanted advice. You give your spirit the peace and uncluttered space it needs to focus on what truly matters: your intimate connection to God and the holy work He has called you to do. Then, when the time is right, you will not need to say a word. The beautiful, strong, and undeniable fruit of your labor will speak for itself, with a quiet authority that is louder than any trumpet. Secret 5. Master your emotions. All right, this next secret is a powerful one because it's about the very currents that run through the river of your heart, emotions. As a human being, a child of God, you were created to feel everything: the soaring heights of joy, the deep valleys of sorrow, the righteous fire of anger, the boundless warmth of love, the grit of frustration, and the balm of soaring peace. But here is where your path as a chosen one must sharply diverge from the world's. You cannot afford to be a slave to your emotions. To be a true and effective warrior for the light, you must become their master. Now, let's be absolutely clear. Mastering your emotions doesn't mean you become a cold, unfeeling robot. It doesn't mean you ignore them or stuff them down into some dark cellar in your soul. No, that is a recipe for spiritual sickness. It means you learn to understand them with profound compassion and wisdom. It's like being a good mechanic for your own soul. You learn to listen for the source of the noise. When you feel that hot flash of anger rising in your chest, or that cold, creeping wave of anxiety, the wise, God-led part of you steps back and gently asks, "Okay, heart, where is this really coming from? What is the deeper fear or hurt that is speaking right now? Why is this so critical to your mission? Because your enemies, both in this world and in the spiritual realm, thrive on one thing above all others: chaos. Raw, uncontrolled emotion is chaos. When your emotions are in the driver's seat, you lose your clear spiritual judgment. It's like trying to navigate a ship through a treacherous storm with a blindfolded captain. And in that confusion, in that storm, you become wide open to manipulation, distraction, and devastating mistakes. Your emotions, when unchecked, are like fire. Fire can warm a home, cook a meal, and provide light in the darkness, a magnificent tool. But that same fire, left untended and uncontained, can burn the entire village to the ground. Your emotions need a hearth, a safe place built by self-control and wisdom. where they can serve their purpose without destroying everything you hold dear. Think of the tragic story of Moses, a great and chosen leader of God. Even after witnessing countless miracles, his own frustration got the best of him. God told him to speak to the rock, but after years of leading a complaining and stiff-necked people, in a single moment of uncontrolled anger, Moses struck it instead. And that one emotional reaction, that brief but total loss of control, cost him the chance to enter the promised land. This story is a powerful, heartbreaking reminder that even the strongest among us must learn to command their own heart, lest a moment of human frustration overshadow a lifetime of faithfulness. But here is where the hope lies. Mastering your emotions is a skill, a spiritual discipline that you can learn. It all starts with what I call the holy pause. When you feel a strong emotion rising up, anger, sadness, fear, just stop. Before you speak, before you act, take a single, deep, intentional breath. That small, sacred space you create is where your power lies. It's the gap between feeling and action, the space where heaven can meet earth. In that moment of quiet, you get to choose how to respond instead of just reacting. And that single spirit-led choice can prevent a lifetime of regret. Please hear me on this. Emotions are not your enemy. They are messengers. Bottling them up is like holding a lit firecracker in your hand. Eventually, it will explode and cause damage. The secret is to acknowledge the feeling without letting it drive the car. You can feel profound anger over injustice without saying something cruel. You can feel deep sadness without collapsing into despair. You are the steward of your inner world. You are in charge, not the emotion. And here is the most beautiful part of this secret. When you learn to guide your emotions, they become one of your greatest sources of spiritual strength. The righteous anger you feel over an injustice, God can channel that into a holy fire that brings justice and healing to the world. The deep sorrow you carry for the brokenhearted, it can blossom into a profound compassion that allows you to be the very hands and feet of Christ. Your frustration? It can be the sandpaper that smooths your character and builds Christ-like endurance. Your joy? It becomes a radiant testimony, a beacon of God's goodness that gives hope to everyone you meet. By transforming your emotions into tools for your mission, you remain steady, you stay focused, and you walk the path God has set for you with an unshakable grace and a quiet, formidable power. Secret 6. The power of silence. In a world that screams, it is a spiritual necessity to learn how to be silent. In an age where everyone is fighting to be heard, where the loudest voice and the cleverest comeback are praised, one of your greatest spiritual weapons, one of your deepest sources of power, is silence. Now, this isn't about being afraid to speak or hiding your truth in a corner. It's about discovering the immense, holy power in choosing your moments. The wise masters and saints of old knew this. They often spoke little because they understood a profound secret. The world screams, but heaven whispers. In the sacred hush of silence, you connect with God in a way that the noisy clutter of words can never touch. Think about it in your own life. Isn't it true? The words we most regret are rarely the ones we planned. They are the ones that escape in a moment of heat, of frustration, of wounded pride. Words can build temples of hope, but they can also destroy bridges of trust. And once they're released into the world, they can never be called back. But silence is different. Silence is a holy sanctuary. It's a classroom where wisdom is the teacher. It's a garden where your spirit can finally grow deep roots. It's a cathedral where your soul can hear the voice of God without the static of the world's demands. When you choose to stay quiet, especially when the world is baiting you and expecting you to lash out, you are taking back a profound level of control. Instead of emotionally reacting, you learn to spiritually observe. You begin to see what's really happening beneath the surface of a conflict. And that is where true, divine wisdom is found. Silence is also your impenetrable shield. People will try to provoke you. It's a tactic of the enemy. They will question your faith with condescending tones. They will challenge the sacred path you walk. In those moments, silence is your strongest defense. When you refuse to be drawn into their negativity, into their game of ego, you protect your own precious peace. You do not have to show up for every argument you're invited to. Some battles are distractions sent from the enemy, and the most holy course of action is to simply not engage. Remember the breathtaking example of Jesus. As he stood before his accusers, Pilate, Herod, facing mockery, lies, and injustice, what did he do? He remained silent. Why? Because his truth was so immense, so powerful, it didn't need a frantic human defense. His silence wasn't empty, it was full. His silence was filled with the power and authority of heaven. It was a silence that declared, "My reality is not determined by your accusations. My identity is not up for debate. I answer to a higher court." You must learn to cultivate that same quiet, holy confidence. You do not need to justify your God-given journey to people who are determined to misunderstand you. Let them talk, let them question. But you can choose to respond with a calm and dignified silence that speaks louder than any angry retort ever could. In doing so, you keep your own spirit safe and undefiled. Now, let me be very clear so you do not misunderstand. This does not mean you are a doormat. It does not mean you never speak up against evil. There are absolutely times when God will call on you to speak with a holy fire in your bones and the courage of a lion. But you must learn the difference between God's divine calling to speak and your own emotional, ego-driven reaction. So how do you know? How can you tell the difference in the heat of the moment? Before you respond to something that feels heated or tense, you must practice that holy pause. And in that pause, you ask your heart, is this a word from God or a reaction from me? Will my words bring His light to this, or just more human heat? Is this serving my sacred mission, or just my wounded pride? More often than you think, you'll discover that silence is the most powerful, most God-honoring, and most spiritually intelligent answer. In silence, you protect your energy, you maintain your dignity, and most importantly, you give God the holy space He needs to move and to work. Secret 7. Keep your presence sacred. Let's go even deeper now, beyond the surface of what you do, and into the very essence of who you are. We've talked about your energy, but now let's talk about something more profound. Your presence. I'm not talking about charisma or charm. I am talking about the spiritual substance, the holy weight you carry in a room just by being authentically you. It is the invisible atmosphere of peace, truth, and authority that emanates from a soul that is deeply connected to God. Have you ever walked into a room heavy with tension and without saying a word, felt the entire mood begin to change, as if a window had been opened in a stuffy room? Or perhaps you've spoken just a few quiet, simple words of truth, and noticed that the entire chaotic conversation suddenly stopped, and for a moment everyone listened. That isn't an accident. It's not a coincidence. As a chosen one, your presence is spiritually magnetic. The Bible tells us that we, as believers, are the aroma of Christ, 2 Corinthians 2:15. You carry a God-given authority that doesn't just enter spaces, it transforms them. But with this great and holy gift comes a profound responsibility. And here's a truth that may be hard for your tender heart to hear, but it is a truth that will protect you. Not everyone is worthy of being in your presence. That isn't said from a place of pride or arrogance. It is said from a place of sacred, spiritual protection. It's the wisdom of a gatekeeper guarding a holy temple. Your light, your peace, your very presence can make some people intensely uncomfortable. For the person who thrives on chaos, your peace is a rebuke. For the person mired in jealousy, your light is a painful reminder of their own choices. For the insecure, your quiet confidence threatens their fragile sense of self. And so, some will instinctively try to diminish you, to pull you into an argument, to mock your faith. Anything to extinguish the light that reveals their own darkness. This is why you must become intentional, almost ruthlessly intentional, about the spaces you choose to enter and the people you allow to share your closest space. So, how do you protect this sacred gift of your presence? First, you must become incredibly mindful of your environment. The spiritual realm is real, and certain places carry a tangible heaviness. Have you ever walked into a house and felt an immediate sense of oppression, a spirit of anger or sadness clinging to the very walls? You are far more sensitive to these spiritual atmospheres than most. Intentionally placing yourself in environments that are saturated with spiritual negativity, places of extreme gossip, hostility, greed, or immorality, will not just drain you, it can contaminate your spirit. Your presence, yes, has the power to bring light, but it can also be brutally attacked by the darkness that already resides there. Choose wisely. Not every invitation is a divine appointment. Second, you must understand in your bones that your presence is a precious, non-renewable gift. You wouldn't take your most prized family heirloom, your grandmother's wedding ring perhaps, and toss it carelessly into a mud puddle. The thought is horrifying, isn't it? So why would you place your sacred, God-given presence in friendships, relationships, or situations that only dishonor you, belittle you, and dim your inner light? You are not here on this earth to be a doormat for the disrespectful, a sidekick for the arrogant, or a constant sounding board for everyone else's endless drama. Your God-given mission is far too vital, far too important for that. And third, you must learn to embrace the healing, restorative power of solitude. There will be seasons in your life when you must strategically and lovingly pull away from the world. Please hear me. This is not loneliness. This is spiritual refueling. Solitude is not an empty room. It is an appointment with the King of Kings. It's in those sacred, quiet times alone that you can finally hear the whisper of God without the shouting of the world. It's where He restores your soul, pours fresh wisdom into your spirit, and strengthens you for the road ahead. Jesus Himself modeled this for us constantly. The Bible is filled with verses telling us how He would often withdraw from the noisy, demanding crowds to find a solitary place to pray. He knew He needed that quiet, intimate time to stay connected to the Father. If Jesus, the very Son of God, needed that, how much more do we? Your presence is powerful, my friend, a true force for good in this world. But it's not invincible. It needs to be protected, recharged, and renewed. By being ruthlessly wise about your surroundings, treating your presence as a holy gift, and embracing the sanctuary of solitude, you are protecting the very core of who God made you to be, ensuring that you are fully equipped and spiritually vibrant to fulfill the beautiful mission He has placed upon your life. Secret 8. Maintain balance in all things now. We come to one of the most quiet but profoundly essential secrets of a long and fruitful spiritual walk: the simple, sacred art of balance. It might not sound as dramatic as spiritual warfare, but without it, even the strongest, most anointed spiritual warrior will eventually stumble and fall. Balance is the spiritual ballast that keeps your ship steady in the roughest seas. It is the holy tension that keeps your feet firmly planted on the ground, so you can keep your heart safely in the heavens. It allows you to walk in this world without being consumed by it. But let's be honest with each other. In today's chaotic 24/7 world, finding balance feels almost impossible, doesn't it? It feels like a luxury we can't afford. Life is a constant, relentless tug-of-war, pulling you in a million different directions at once. The demands of your work, the needs of your family, your own physical and emotional health, and of course, your sacred spiritual path. It's so easy, dangerously easy, to find yourself overwhelmed, spiritually burnt out, and feeling completely disconnected from the very source of your strength. So how do you find your footing? How do you walk this tightrope of life with grace instead of anxiety? First, and this is the non-negotiable anchor of your life, you must intentionally and jealously guard your time with God. No matter how busy you get, no matter how urgent the world's demands seem, you must carve out sacred time each day for your spiritual life. This might be prayer, meditation, reading scripture, or just 5 minutes of absolute, reverent silence before the world wakes up. This daily appointment is not a religious duty or another box to check off on your list. It is your lifeline. It is the moment God recalibrates your inner compass, recenters your soul, and fills you with the divine strength and clarity you need to navigate the challenges of the day. Without this anchor, you will be tossed about by every wave. Second, please, with all compassion, learn to take care of yourself. This is not selfish, it is wise. You have heard the saying 1,000 times, you can't pour from an empty cup. Tending to your spiritual life is vital, but so is tending to your human life. The incarnation of Jesus shows us that God deeply honors our humanity. So, rest when you're tired. Truly rest. Eat a good meal. Go for a walk and breathe fresh air. Protect your peace by turning off the noise. Taking care of your body, your mind, and your emotions is not a distraction from your mission. It is a sacred act of stewardship for the very vessel God has given you to carry out that mission. Third, to maintain balance, you must protect your yes by learning to use a graceful no. As a chosen one, people are naturally drawn to your light and your strength. They will seek your guidance, your help, your energy. But listen carefully. You are not responsible for fixing everyone. It is not your job to be the Messiah for every person in your life. It is not your job to carry the weight of every person's poor choices and endless problems. Learning to say a gentle but firm no is absolutely essential for your spiritual survival. Every time you say yes to something that drains you, you are implicitly saying no to something that could fill you, including your time with God. And finally, you must actively cultivate balance in everything, in your relationships, in your habits, and in how you spend your time. Surround yourself with people who fill you up, not just people who drain you. Find that sweet, holy rhythm between quiet solitude to recharge your spiritual batteries and meaningful connection with others to share the light you've been given. You're not called to be a hermit, locked away in a cave. And you're not called to be a martyr, burned out by the endless needs of others. You are called to be a light, a steady, warm, and brilliant light. And balance is the sacred discipline that keeps that light burning steady and bright for a lifetime. Secret 9. Protect your spirit from negative attacks. As a chosen one, your spirit is more finely tuned than most. Think of it like a highly sensitive instrument, capable of detecting subtle shifts in the spiritual atmosphere that others completely miss. You can walk into a room and instantly feel the mood, whether it's peace or discord. You can sense the unspoken tension, the hidden motives, the spiritual temperature of people, places, and situations. This spiritual sensitivity is a beautiful and powerful gift, a divine sonar. But it also means you are more vulnerable, more open to the negative energies and spiritual static of this fallen world. And make no mistake about it, spiritual attacks are real. The Bible is crystal clear on this. Ephesians 6:12 tells us, "For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms." These attacks don't always come like a loud thunderstorm. Often they creep in silently, like a colorless, odorless gas. An attack can manifest as a sudden, crippling wave of exhaustion that you can't explain. It can feel like a thick, confusing fog of doubt that settles over your mind, making you question your calling and your very identity. Or it can be a crushing, irrational spirit of fear that tries to paralyze you and keep you from moving forward. That is why you must learn how to consciously and actively protect your spirit. This is not an optional spiritual practice for the super spiritual. It is essential, basic training for your survival and for the fulfillment of your mission. So, where does this unshakable protection come from? How do you stand firm in the midst of the battle? First and foremost, your ultimate protection comes from your daily, intimate connection with God. This connection is not just a comfort, it is your spiritual fortress. It is your high tower. When you are abiding in Him, walking closely with the divine, you are surrounded by a shield of living light that negativity and darkness cannot easily penetrate. Your daily prayer, your time in His Word, your moments of worship. These are not just religious activities. These are the spiritual disciplines that reinforce the walls of your fortress and keep that shield strong. Second, God has given you spiritual tools and weapons to use. Your words, when aligned with His, have immense power. The spoken declaration of faith is a mighty weapon. When you feel that darkness trying to creep in, when fear begins to whisper its lies in your ear, you must speak out loud. Don't just think it. Say it with authority. I am a child of God, and I am surrounded by His perfect light. No weapon formed against me will ever prosper. Isaiah 54:17. Say the powerful battle-tested words that Jesus Himself taught us. Deliver us from evil. Speaking these truths aloud is like flipping a switch and flooding a dark room with light. The shadows have no choice but to flee. Third, you must learn to regularly cleanse your spirit. Think of it like this. Every day you walk through the world, you pick up spiritual dust and grime, just like you pick up dirt on your clothes. After a difficult day, after an argument, or after being around a particularly negative person, you need to intentionally release that spiritual residue. This is not a complex ritual. It can be as simple as finding a quiet space and visualizing God's pure white light, the light of the Holy Spirit, washing over you from the top of your head to the soles of your feet, cleansing away any fear, anxiety, heaviness, or contamination, until you feel spiritually clean and at peace once again. And what if you recognize that you are in the midst of an attack? What do? First, do not panic. Panic is fear, and fear is the enemy's native language. Instead, take a breath and see it for what it is: a desperate, cowardly attempt to knock you off your path, precisely because your light is a terrifying threat to the kingdom of darkness. And in that moment, instead of shrinking back in fear, you must do the opposite. Stand your ground, draw closer to God, pray for His strength, His peace, His presence, and hold on to your faith like a battered but unbreakable shield. Remember this, warrior of light: fear is the enemy's favorite weapon, but your simple, childlike faith in an all-powerful God is infinitely, immeasurably, and eternally more powerful. Secret 10. Maintain an unshakable connection to God. We have now arrived at the final secret. And in truth, it is the only one that truly matters. Because without this, none of the others can stand. It is the foundation under everything, the source of all your strength, and the very anchor of your soul. It is your unshakable, personal connection to the divine. This connection is your lifeline. It is where you find your wisdom when you are confused, your protection when you are under attack, and your power when you feel weak. But in the noise of modern life, this connection can feel so fragile. The world is always screaming for your attention, your job, your family, your endless to-do list. And it's so easy to let the most important things slip. But please hear this. Neglecting your time with God is the single most dangerous thing you can do. When that connection weakens, you are left alone to face the chaos of the world. You lose your compass. Your spiritual shield grows thin. Jesus, in the middle of His world-changing ministry, constantly pulled away to be alone with the Father. He knew where His true strength came from. If He needed to do that to stay recharged, how much more do we? As a chosen one, your daily time with God is not a luxury. It is your absolute first priority. So how do you deepen this sacred bond? First, you must learn the art of spiritual listening. So often we treat prayer like a monologue. We talk, we ask, we plead, but we forget to be still and listen for the answer. God is always speaking, through that quiet gut feeling, through signs, through the people He places in your path. But you cannot hear His whisper if your mind is always shouting. Spiritual listening requires you to quiet the noise, both outside and inside, so you can finally hear that still, small voice that is always guiding you home. Next, a strong connection requires surrender. This isn't a passive act of giving up. It is an active act of trust. It's the moment you finally stop trying to control everything and place your life, your fears, and your mission into His loving hands. Your path as a chosen one won't always make sense. But when you surrender, you are saying, God, I trust that your plan is bigger than my problems. It is in that moment of release that miracles begin to happen. And finally, all of this is held together by one thing: faith. Faith is the bedrock. Faith is what holds you steady when the path ahead is dark and you can't see the next step. It's the quiet knowing in your soul that you are not alone, that you are being guided, and that everything is unfolding according to a divine plan. Your faith will be tested. There will be days you feel forgotten. But remember this: God never, ever abandons His chosen. Faith isn't the absence of doubt. Faith is choosing to take the next step anyway. It's the deep, unshakable trust that no matter what comes, you are on the right path. When you live in that faith, your connection to God becomes a mighty fortress that can withstand any storm, So, chosen one, the journey you are on is sacred. But as we've seen, it is also filled with profound challenges. But you are not defenseless. You are not powerless. You now have the secrets you need to guard your spirit, to walk in wisdom, and to command your inner world. And most importantly, you now know that your unshakable connection to God is the true, unending source of all your strength. With this wisdom woven into your heart, you can walk your path not with fear, but with a quiet courage and a gentle, divine authority. And please, in your hardest moments, in the darkest nights of the soul when you feel utterly alone, I want you to burn this truth into your memory. You are not alone. There are forces of light and legions of angels guiding your every step. Trust in that, and know, deep in your bones, that you are here on this earth at this exact time for a purpose far greater and more beautiful than you can yet imagine. It has been a true honor to walk this part of the journey with you. Stay protected, stay connected, and above all, stay faithful. Before you go, if this message spoke to your heart, you can help it reach other chosen ones who feel lost and alone. First, give this video a thumbs up. It tells the platform that this is a message of value and helps it find the people who need it most. Second, if you haven't already, subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell. This is more than just a button. It's your way of saying yes to walking this journey with a community that understands. And finally, the most important part. Share your voice in the comments below. Which of these secrets resonated with you the most? What challenges are you facing on your path? Your story is powerful, and your testimony could be the very words someone else needs to read today to find hope. Let's continue to build this beautiful community of kindred spirits dedicated to walking this sacred path together. So, stay blessed and never, ever stop shining that beautiful light of yours. Until next time, thank you for being here.